My ex sold my dog while I was at work. She didn't know the dog was microchipped in my name, or that the buyer was an off-duty cop. Selling someone else's property is a felony. I got my dog back. She got arrested. I came home to an empty apartment at 7:43 p.m. on a Thursday, and the silence hit me before I even opened the door. No barking, no paws clicking on the hardwood floor, no warm, wiggling body rushing to greet me like I was the best thing he'd seen all day. Just silence. The kind of silence that fills a space where life used to be. My keys were still in my hand when I saw the text from Jessica. Took care of your little problem. Maybe now you'll pay attention to me instead of that stupid mutt. You're welcome. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. I felt it freeze in my chest, then kick back to life with a painful thud that sent adrenaline flooding through my veins. I called her 17 times in 12 minutes, straight to voicemail every single one. I ran through the apartment like a madman, checked every room, every closet, the balcony, under the bed, called his name even though I knew he wasn't there, because some desperate part of my brain refused to accept what that text message meant. Bruno was gone, and Jessica had taken care of him. Bruno wasn't just a dog to me. That's what people who've never loved an animal don't understand. He wasn't a pet, or a possession, or a fur baby, or whatever cutesy term people use to minimize the relationship. He was family. He was my best friend. He was the reason I got out of bed on the days when nothing else seemed worth moving for. I'd adopted him 3 years before I ever met Jessica, found him at the county shelter, gray-faced and arthritic and scared, an 11-year-old golden retriever that nobody wanted because he was too old and too broken and too much work. He'd been returned twice. 2 different families had taken him home, decided he wasn't worth the effort, and brought him back like a defective appliance. When I walked past his kennel that day, he didn't bark or jump or try to get my attention like the younger dogs. He just looked at me, these soft brown eyes that had seen too much disappointment, expecting one more. I took him home that afternoon. He slept on my bed that first night, something the shelter paperwork explicitly said I shouldn't allow, and every night since. For 3 years, Bruno was my constant. Through job changes and apartment moves and the loneliness that comes with being single in a city where everyone seems to have figured out something you haven't. He was there, always there, waiting by the door when I came home, pressed against my leg when I sat on the couch, snoring softly beside me through every night. Then I met Jessica. Jessica Hartman was 27 years old, worked in pharmaceutical sales, and had a smile that made you forget to ask important questions. We met at a friend's birthday party. She laughed at my jokes, seemed genuinely interested in my work as an electrician, and, crucially, seemed to love Bruno when she came over for our first date. "Oh my God, he's precious," she'd cooed, kneeling down to let him sniff her hand. "I've always wanted a dog. My apartment doesn't allow them." She posted photos with him on Instagram, captioned them things like, "My 2 favorite boys," and "Dog Dad goals." Her friends commented heart emojis. Her mother said she'd found a keeper. I believed it, wanted to believe it. After 3 years of just me and Bruno, the idea of building something bigger, a family maybe, felt like the next natural step. She moved in 6 months ago. That's when everything changed. The allergies appeared first. "I don't know what's happening," she said, sniffling dramatically. "I think I'm developing a reaction to dog hair. Can we keep him out of the bedroom?" I bought an air purifier, vacuumed twice a day, started washing Bruno more frequently, which he hated. Then the complaints started. "His hair is everywhere. I found it in my makeup bag. He smells. Even right after a bath, he just smells like dog. Why does he have to follow me around? It's creepy, like I'm being watched. He takes up the whole couch. I can't even sit down without him trying to climb on me." Bruno weighed 47 pounds. He took up maybe a quarter of the couch. He followed her because he followed everyone. That's what golden retrievers do. They want to be near their people. But I tried to accommodate. I was so focused on making the relationship work that I started treating Bruno's existence as a problem to be solved rather than a life to be honored. I'm not proud of that. The conversation about rehoming started about 2 months ago. "I've been thinking," Jessica said one night, in that careful tone people use when they're about to say something they know you won't like. "Maybe Bruno would be happier somewhere else. A farm maybe. Somewhere with space to run. Bruno is 11 years old with arthritis. He doesn't want to run. He wants his bed and his bowl and his routine. But wouldn't it be better for both of us? We could travel more. We wouldn't have to rush home for walks. We could actually have a clean apartment. Bruno was here before you, Jessica. Bruno stays." She didn't like that answer. Her face went tight in a way I'd seen before. When a restaurant got her order wrong, when a coworker disagreed with her in a meeting, that controlled anger that suggested something uglier underneath. "So you're choosing a dog over me." "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. I'm saying Bruno is part of my life, and that's not changing." We fought about it every few days after that. The same arguments, the same circular logic, the same ultimatum hovering unspoken in the air. I guess she got tired of waiting for me to choose. The night Bruno disappeared, I filed a police report. The responding officer was named Patricia Reyes, 14 years on the force, according to her badge, with the tired patience of someone who'd seen every kind of human cruelty and wasn't surprised by any of it. "Your girlfriend took your dog?" she asked, pen hovering over her notepad. "Ex-girlfriend ex-girlfriend, as of about an hour ago. And you have proof the dog is yours? He's microchipped. Has been since the day I adopted him. Registered to my name, my address, my phone number. I have the paperwork from the shelter, the vet records, everything. She wrote something down. That's good. That'll help. What do you mean help? She stole my dog. She admitted it in a text message. Can't you just go arrest her? Officer Reyes looked at me with something like sympathy. Mr. Torres, I understand this is upsetting, but these cases are complicated. She lived with you, which creates questions about shared property. We need to document everything properly before we can take action. He's not shared property. He's mine. I adopted him 3 years before I met her. I believe you. But the legal system needs more than belief. It needs proof. She took down all the information, Bruno's chip number, his photo, Jessica's contact information, a screenshot of the text message. She gave me her card and told me to call if I learned anything new. In the meantime, she said, check the shelters. Check Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, next door. People who take animals often try to sell or rehome them quickly. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I spent every hour I wasn't at work scouring the internet, calling shelters, driving to pet stores with Bruno's photo, asking if anyone had seen him. Nothing. By day 3, I was running on caffeine and desperation, convinced I'd never see him again. Then my phone rang. Mr. Torres, this is Officer Marcus Daniels with the County Police Department. I'm calling about your dog. I stopped breathing. You found him? We found him. He's safe. He's at Riverside Veterinary Clinic on 4th Street. I was grabbing my keys before he finished the sentence. How? What happened? A man brought him in for a routine checkup this morning. Standard procedure. The vet scanned for a microchip. The chip came back flagged in our stolen property database. The microchip. The $45 microchip I'd gotten at the shelter 3 years ago, registered and updated every time I moved, had just saved Bruno's life. There's something else you should know, Officer Daniels continued. The man who purchased your dog from your ex-girlfriend, he's one of ours. Detective Robert Chen, 12-year veteran of the force, works in our financial crimes unit. I stopped moving. A cop bought my dog? Unknowingly, yes. When the vet told him the dog was flagged as stolen, he contacted us immediately. He's not happy about being involved in a crime, even unknowingly. He's provided a full statement. A statement about what? Text conversations with your ex-girlfriend negotiating the sale, payment confirmation through Venmo, screenshots of the ad she posted on Facebook Marketplace, everything. I sat down heavily on my couch, the same couch Bruno used to curl up on, the spot where Jessica had complained he took up too much space. How much? I asked. How much did she sell him for? A pause. $200. $200. 11 years of love and loyalty. Bruno's entire remaining life, however long that might be, sold for $200. Mr. Torres, I want you to know we're taking this seriously. Your ex-girlfriend is being charged with theft of property over $50, which is a Class 4 felony in this state. She's also facing fraud charges for misrepresenting ownership of the animal. Detective Chen is pursuing this personally. Personally? He has a golden retriever himself. 11 years old, actually. He said when he saw Bruno's ad, he thought he was giving an old dog a good home for his final years. Another pause. He's taking this very personally. I picked Bruno up from Riverside Veterinary Clinic at 2:34 p.m. that afternoon. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, 21 years of veterinary practice, according to the diplomas on her wall, met me in the lobby with a gentle expression and careful words. He's okay, she said before I could ask. Physically, he's okay. A little thinner than I'd like. He's lost about 3 pounds, which is significant for his size. Some stress indicators, but nothing that won't resolve with proper care and familiar surroundings. Where was he? What happened to him? From what I understand, he spent the first night in a crate in your ex-girlfriend's car. She posted the ad the next morning. Detective Chen responded within a few hours. Dr. Mitchell shook her head. He thought he was rescuing a senior dog. Paid cash, took Bruno home, started spoiling him with treats and a new bed. When he brought him in today for a wellness check, we scanned the chip as standard protocol and, well, here we are. She led me back to the exam room where Bruno was waiting. The second he saw me, his whole body started wiggling. That old tail, slower than it used to be, gray where it used to be gold, going back and forth like he was a puppy again. He tried to stand, his arthritic hips wobbling, and let out this sound that was half bark and half cry. I dropped to my knees on that clinic floor and held him, pressed my face into his fur, and let myself cry for the first time in 3 days. He smelled like a strange house, like someone else's laundry detergent, but underneath that, he still smelled like Bruno, like home. I'm sorry, I whispered into his ear. I'm so sorry. I'm never letting you go again. He licked my face. Forgiveness, just like that. Dogs don't hold grudges. They don't calculate betrayals or keep score. They just love you, completely and unconditionally, and trust that you'll love them back. I'd almost failed him, almost let someone take that trust away. Never again. Detective Robert Chen was waiting in the lobby when I came out with Bruno. He was about 50 years old, Asian American, with the kind of quiet intensity that suggested he'd seen a lot and remembered all of it. He was in plain clothes, jeans and a polo shirt, but you could tell he was a cop even without the badge on his belt. Mr. Torres, he extended his hand. I'm Robert Chen. I'm the one who, he stopped, looked at Bruno, and something softened in his expression. I'm glad you got him back. Thank you for coming forward, for making this this right. I didn't have a choice. When I saw that chip was flagged, I knew exactly what had happened. He shook his head. I have a golden myself. Charlie. He's 11 too. When I saw your ex's ad, I thought. He stopped again. I thought I was doing something good. You did do something good. You took care of him. Dr. Mitchell said he was healthy. I tried. He was scared the first night. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't settle. I sat up with him until 3 a.m. just talking to him, letting him know he was safe. A pause. I didn't know he had someone looking for him. Someone who loved him. How could you know? She posted him like he was a piece of furniture she didn't want anymore. $200. Detective Chen's voice hardened. She sold an 11-year-old dog with arthritis for $200, and she had the nerve to tell me she was finding him a better home because her new apartment didn't allow pets. I felt my jaw tighten. That's not why she did it. I know. Officer Reyes sent me your statement, the text message. He met my eyes directly. I want you to know I'm going to see this through. I've already provided my statement and all the documentation. I've also connected with the DA's office. I know the assistant prosecutor handling property crimes. She's not going to let this slide. Why? I mean, thank you, but why are you going so far? Detective Chen looked at Bruno, who was leaning against my leg, exhausted but content. Because I've seen people do terrible things to each other for money, for revenge, for reasons that don't make any sense. And most of the time, I can't do anything about it except file reports and hope the system works. He paused. This time, I can do something. This time, I'm a witness, and I'm not going to let her get away with treating a living creature like garbage just because she was mad at you. He handed me his card. Call me if you need anything, and take care of that old man. He deserves it. 3 days later, Jessica called me, not from her phone, from the county jail. I almost didn't answer, almost let it go to voicemail, let her sit in whatever hell she'd created for herself. But something made me pick up, some need to hear her realize what she'd done. Marcus, her voice was raw from crying. Marcus, please, you have to help me. Help you with what, Jessica? They arrested me. They said I committed a felony. A felony, Marcus, for a dog. They're saying I could go to prison. You stole my dog and sold him. That's theft. That's what happens. I didn't know it was illegal. I thought since we lived together, he was half mine. I thought I had the right. You didn't have the right to anything. Bruno was mine. My name on the adoption papers. My name on the microchip. My name on every vet bill for 3 years. You knew that. She was crying harder now. That hysterical, snotty crying she used to do when she wanted sympathy, when she wanted me to fix whatever problem she'd created for herself. Please, baby, please talk to the cops. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you don't want to press charges. I can't have a felony on my record. I'll lose my job. I'll lose everything. Please. I looked down at Bruno. He was curled up on his bed, the same bed he'd slept on for 3 years, the bed Jessica had wanted to throw out because it was ugly. Finally home, finally safe. His gray muzzle was resting on his paws. His eyes were closed. For the first time since I'd gotten him back, he looked peaceful. You sold my dog for $200. I know, and I'm sorry. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. But please, Marcus, please don't ruin my life over a dog. A dog. Still calling him a dog. Like he was a lamp or a couch or any other object she had the right to dispose of. You should have thought about that before you sold him to a cop. I hung up. The trial happened 4 months later. Jessica had hired a defense attorney named Thomas Burke, 20 years of criminal defense experience, according to his website, with a reputation for getting clients reduced sentences through plea deals and technicalities. He argued that Jessica had believed, in good faith, that she had partial ownership of Bruno due to their cohabitation, that the situation was a civil matter that had been inappropriately escalated to criminal charges, that his client was a productive member of society with no prior criminal record who deserved mercy and rehabilitation rather than punishment. The prosecutor, Assistant DA Michelle Torres, no relation, 15 years in property crimes, known for being thorough and uncompromising, dismantled every argument. She presented Bruno's adoption paperwork, showing my name as the sole owner. She presented the microchip registration, showing my name and address. She presented 3 years of veterinary records, all in my name. She presented the text message Jessica had sent, took care of your little problem, and the Facebook Marketplace ad where Jessica had represented herself as the rightful owner. Then she called Detective Robert Chen to the stand. He testified for 45 minutes, described seeing the ad, believing he was rescuing a senior dog, described the text conversations with Jessica where she'd told him Bruno's owner had abandoned him and she was just trying to find him a good home, described the moment at the vet clinic when the microchip scan came back flagged as stolen property. And how did you feel when you learned the truth? The prosecutor asked. Furious, Detective Chen said flatly. Betrayed. I'd been used as an unwitting accomplice in stealing this man's family member. I'd spent $200 to participate in a crime. And that dog, he paused, collected himself. That dog spent 3 days scared and confused, thinking he'd been abandoned again because this woman decided to punish her ex-boyfriend by selling a living creature like it was a piece of furniture. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Class 4, felony theft, fraud. Sentenced to 18 months of probation, 200 hours of community service, mandatory anger management counseling, and restitution of all costs costs incurred. Veterinary bills, legal fees, lost wages from the days I'd spent searching for Bruno. Oh, and a permanent ban from owning or possessing any animals for 5 years. That last part was my favorite. Jessica tried to talk to me outside the courthouse after the verdict. She looked different, thinner, tired. The polish was gone, the perfect hair, the careful makeup, the confident stride. She looked like someone who'd realized, too late, that actions have consequences. "Marcus, please, can we talk?" I stopped. Bruno was in the car. Detective Chen had offered to watch him during the trial, and they'd become friends of a sort, but I could see Jessica's eyes scanning for him, wondering if he was nearby. "What's left to say?" "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I can't take it back, but I need you to know I understand now. What I did was wrong. I was angry, and I wasn't thinking, and you were thinking fine. You posted an ad. You negotiated a price. You collected the money. You handed him over to a stranger." I kept my voice level, calm. "That takes planning. That takes intention. You don't get to call it a mistake, but I've lost everything. My job found out. They fired me. My family won't talk to me. I can't. You sold my dog, Jessica. You sold a living creature that I loved, that trusted me, that had already been abandoned twice in his life. You did that to hurt me, and you didn't care what it did to him." She was crying again. Those same tears that used to work on me. They didn't anymore. "I hope you figure out why you did it," I said. "I hope you get whatever help you need, but that's not my problem anymore. We're done here." I walked away, got in my car. Bruno was in the back seat, tail wagging, ready to go home. I never spoke to her again. That was 8 months ago. Bruno is 12 now. His hips are worse than they were. He needs a little help getting up in the mornings, and stairs are mostly a thing of the past, but he's still here, still greeting me at the door like I'm the best thing that ever happened to him, still sleeping, pressed against my side every single night. Detective Chen comes over sometimes, brings his golden retriever Charlie, and the two old dogs lie on the living room floor together, while Robert and I drink beer and talk about nothing important. "He looks happy," Robert said last week, watching Bruno doze in a patch of sunlight. "He is happy. We both are. You know, I still think about that day at the vet clinic, the look in his eyes when they told me he was stolen. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew something was wrong." Robert shook his head. 12 years on the force, I've seen a lot of cruelty, but something about that case stuck with me. Why? Because it was so pointless. She didn't sell him for money she needed. She didn't do it to survive. She did it to hurt you, and she was willing to sacrifice an innocent life to do it. He took a sip of his beer. "That's a special kind of evil. The casual kind. The kind that doesn't think twice." I looked at Bruno, still sleeping, still peaceful. She thought I'd never find him. She thought she'd get away with it. Most people do. Most of the time, they're right. Robert smiled slightly. "She just had the bad luck to sell a chipped dog to a cop." "Bad luck," I repeated. "That's one way to put it. What would you call it?" I thought about it. About the microchip that cost $45. About the detective who happened to see the ad. About the vet who ran a routine scan as standard procedure. "Karma," I said finally. "I'd call it karma." Bruno lifted his head when I said his name, looked at me with those soft brown eyes, older now, cloudier than they used to be, but still full of that unconditional trust that dogs have and humans rarely deserve. He'd been failed so many times, returned by families who didn't want to deal with his age, sold by a woman who saw him as nothing more than a bargaining chip, and still, he trusted, still, he loved. That's the thing about dogs. They don't keep score, they don't calculate betrayals, they just love you, completely and unconditionally, and trust that you'll be worthy of it. Jessica never understood that, probably never will, but I do, and I'll spend whatever time Bruno has left, making sure he knows he's home. Really, truly home. For good this time. My ex-girlfriend sold my dog for $200. She thought it would hurt me, thought it would teach me a lesson about choosing an animal over her. She was right about one thing. It did teach me a lesson. It taught me that some people will burn down your entire life if they think they can get away with it. That cruelty doesn't need a reason. That the people who claim to love you are sometimes the most dangerous. But it also taught me something else. That $45 microchip I'd gotten 3 years ago, that routine scan at the vet clinic, that cop who happened to see the ad. Sometimes the universe pays attention. Sometimes karma comes through. My ex-girlfriend has a felony record now. Lost her job, her reputation, her family's respect. Can't own a pet for 5 years. Not that she deserves to. Not ever. And me? I've got Bruno curled up on his bed. I've got a quiet apartment that feels like home again. I've got a friend who understands what loyalty actually means. She thought she was taking something from me. Instead, she gave me everything I needed to know about who she really was. And Bruno's right where he's always belonged, with me.